And welcome to this Wednesday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForrest. Going to be joined shortly here, or so we hope, by the great Troy West from all the way out in Seattle, Washington. So we're bi-coastal, we're coast to coast here on the program today. I didn't hear of any uprisings of any sort at any of the Tanzanian embassies. Not sure there are any Tanzanian embassies in the United States, but there has to be one somewhere, no? Tanzanian restaurants. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm still suffering the trauma, the post-traumatic stress syndrome of losing that exacta in the Boston Marathon when I boxed the two Kenyans. As per our recommendation, I would think you could do this in every major city marathon, every marathon that's contested, whether it's the Olympics or Chicago or Detroit or wherever these things are held. Los Angeles has one, New York has one. And you could go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to take two Kenyans and box them. Not sure still of the pronunciation. Kenyans, not meaning to offend anybody, of course, here on nofilter.net. But you get the picture. I mean, I'm a cinch to win this. You got a Kenyan guy makes a move 20 miles out, or he's 20 miles into the race, has about 6 miles to go, and makes a move. It was enough where he built enough of a lead, enough of a cushion that they couldn't catch him. Tight pack of 3 or 4 runners behind him for most of the rest of the distance. And then it comes down to 2. Kenyan, which would have completed my exacta, and a guy from Tanzania who sprints. I mean, at 26 miles, 385 yards, the overall distance of the race, the last 100, after 26 miles, 285 yards. These guys are sprinting. It looked like the start of the Olympic trials. It was incredible. Unbelievable effort on the part of both men. So, taking nothing away from the Tanzanian, but when you get split in an exacta in the Boston Marathon by literally a nose hair, it's somewhat of a devastating blow. It's a hard thing to come back from. So I don't know if we can make it back on hockey and basketball. We did have at least one winner that I recall from yesterday's program is Scotty M. Like the Lakers, which I thought was a little bit far-fetched. The Lakers looked so bad in their loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves in game number 1. Spurted out to a pretty good lead. And then the Timberwolves took command of the game and never looked back. They spanked them in game number 1. And you were thinking, well, geez, the darlings of the media here, the Los Angeles Lakers, everybody's telling you, oh, well, they're the team that can save the league, and a lot of other theories associated with it. I have a little affinity for the Lakers because I covered the team when they were really bad before the acquisition of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they were awful. I think their best player was like Cornell Warner. I know they traded Junior Bridgman. Brian Winters was a pretty good player, and a guy who turned out to be a stiff, Dave Myers. Remember Dave Myers out of UCLA? Those guys were in a package. There might have even been another player when Kareem came from the Bucks to the Los Angeles Lakers. But prior to that, they were bordering on irrelevant. And of course, the Showtime thing happened with Pat Riley, and the rest is history. We're always a foundational franchise representing very positive results, going back to their Minnesota days and George Mikan. But I don't know. Are they the savior of the league? And yet they get spanked by Minnesota. And then what happens? The very next game, Scotty M says, hey, they're going to reverse it. I didn't think it was going to happen. They sprint down to a giant first quarter league. And you're thinking the overplayers were dancing in the streets. And after being up 34-15 in the first quarter, outscored the rest of the way. 3/4 of a basketball game in the NBA, 70-60. And Minnesota prevailed by 10 in that after getting blown off the floor in the first quarter. But it was good enough to hold up. So I don't know if the Lakers have received the necessary call from the governor, a reprieve in this series, but certainly you would have to think if they were down 2-0, that would have been a cause for a lot of anxiety by those who have gone ahead and wagered on the Lakers too. I don't know that is anybody out there holding a ticket on the Lakers to win the championship outright? That would seem political. You holding a ticket on the Lakers to win the title outright by any chance? Do you have like a small piece on the Lakers to win it all? Or would you consider that to an offense that would require somebody to Baker Act you if you had the Lakers winning it all this year? How are you, Troy West? Good to have you on the show.
Good to be seen. Good to be seen. Busy night in sports. Lakers,
Yeah.
like you mentioned, bounce back, and we've got a series there. There's no doubt about that.
What was your thought going in? Many people thought, geez, this isn't necessarily a favorable matchup for the Los Angeles Lakers. But, well, what did you think? Did you think Minnesota had the upset chance? I mean, they're certainly in there in a favorable position, at least even after the split.
Yeah, you're just not getting your best basketball out of LeBron right now. And so if you're winning games 94 to 85, I mean, that to me is actually a good thing that you can still win a game by 9 points with LeBron going 1 of 5 from three and really not shooting well. But like you said, the Timberwolves get the split, which is, I'm sure, what they intended to do. They go home, tough place to play. I mean, game three is a big one. There's no doubt about it. I see the Timberwolves open up as an early 3.5 point favorite. But I'm looking forward to that game, and we'll see. Are we going to get that 35 point vintage LeBron, or is he fatiguing out this late in the season? We'll see.
All right. Interesting series to watch, as is Clippers in Denver. I was watching one of those ESPN debate shows, and they flashed up the big topic they were going to discuss in the next segment. So make sure you don't go anywhere. Was what do the Clippers need to do differently in Game 2 to prevail over the Denver Nuggets? And I was thinking, well, that's pretty easy. They need to score like 3 more points,
Yeah.
and they'd be in pretty good shape. And sure enough, that's pretty much what it boiled down to. As each game contested right to the wire. One goes overtime. The other, Denver has a couple of shots, both bricks of gigantic boulder-like proportions, to tie the game at the end. They had two clean shots, or relatively so. What do you make of that one? And a lot of people thought going into the playoffs that perhaps the only serious threat to OKC might be the LA Clippers.
Yeah, I mean they're playing good. I mean to see Kawhi Leonard do what he did in game two, he had a great game one. I mean it's fun to see these guys that you really thought their careers were over. I mean I thought James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, I mean at best were going to be role players, and they're playing. I mean Kawhi's playing at an MVP level right now. So can they continue throughout the series? I think so. I do think they ultimately take this series. I mean, it will be fun to see them match up with an Oklahoma City or the Lakers down the road. Yeah, they've got the talent to do it. They just do. I mean, they're well coached with Tyronn Lue. If you keep getting 37 from Kawhi Leonard, they're going to be a tough out.
He shot the ball like a young Troy West. What are you talking? Well, you are young. Everybody's young compared to me, but I mean, those first 6, 8 shots that he took were, I mean, a wild assortment of mid-range jumpers where you saw literally the Kawhi Leonard that first surfaced there with the Spurs, and then later on carried Toronto to a championship. All right, how many points are you willing to lay in any ball game with Oklahoma City right now?
I looked at that line yesterday, and I feel like a sucker for not taking it because I could not believe that, after a 51 point victory, that they didn't raise the line. I'm not saying they're going to win by 50 again, but they kept that line right around 14 and a half, and they ultimately win by 19. That just seemed like an absolute no-brainer. They're playing phenomenal. They can beat you in so many ways. They play good defense. I mean, they just got so many guys that can put up double figures on you. They're great off the bench. Can they do it? I don't know. I mean, they're the favorite, obviously, to get out of the West. Can they beat a Boston Celtic team in a 7 game series? Will it be the Cavaliers? Time will tell, but boy, right now you just got to keep betting them and betting them and betting them until they don't cover.
Will Doc Rivers be back on TV, and will Giannis Antetokounmpo be wearing a Miami Heat uniform next year?
Gosh, I would probably say your assumptions are accurate. I said going into that game yesterday that Giannis just seems checked out. He's still putting up numbers, but that doesn't seem like a guy hungry to win an NBA championship by any means. I thought Damian Lillard might light a little fire into them, but they don't play an ounce of defense. They give up 123 again last night. Giannis puts up another 34, but it's just not good enough once again. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that roster. I mean, I thought going into the season with and adding Kuzma and you got Prince and Giannis and Lopez and Lillard. I mean, that's as good as five as anybody in basketball, but they just can't get it going.
All right, let's look at some of tonight's NBA games, then we'll get into some hockey and whatever else you have. I don't know if you're betting on the draft here because we're trying to figure out at what point will everybody's mock draft be completely fucked over. And it could be as soon as the number 2 pick because you can't trust Cleveland management to do anything but something that appears and jumps at you as being blatantly stupid. And we'll see if they go ahead and blunder away the possibility of grabbing Travis Hunter there at number 2. And now they could I guess, trade out of that, but we shall see. We'll speculate on that a little bit. But tonight, you have what, 3 games on the slate, one of which is Orlando and Boston. Orlando pretty much gave the kind of representation of themselves that you might have figured in game number one. Contentious for a while. They were actually leading at halftime, so that might have been a play. But Boston seems to have the goods, although Tatum, I guess, is out for this game. Or the speculation was that he might miss this game too with a wrist injury. 10.5 points. So what do you think? I don't know if that's going to be one of your plays. The other games are Miami at Cleveland. Miami getting 12 on my last check. And Golden State is also getting points. What, 3 points against Houston, the team they just beat. So what do you think? Well, which one do you want to attack, or any or all of them?
The one that I really like is the Cavaliers again. That's kind of a head scratcher. That Cleveland team is playing phenomenal basketball. They're at home. They're only laying 11 and a half. I like Cleveland a lot. I would think that Magic, if Tatum ends up sitting, which the line appears that he is, which it only went to 10 and a half, which is surprising. I would probably take Orlando to hang around that game. Not sure they'll win it, but I'd take 10 and a half. That Orlando team, they've got talent. Banchero's playing at an MVP level. Franz Wagner's playing a bit better. I'd like to think the Magic could hang in that game. I don't think they'll win, but that looks like a 106 to 100 type basketball game. And then I'd like to think the Rockets would get one at home, but man, well, the Warriors, man, that team, they are playing good basketball. Steph Curry's really stepped up his game. Jimmy Buckets, man, the guy, it's just amazing what happens when he wants to play.
Yeah,
Um, and he's playing at an all-time level again right now.
the fans hate him here. I mean, despise Jimmy Butler coming out of South Florida, and after that drama festival that was the heat season. All right, and all right. Well, let's turn our attention to hockey here, Troy West, because I know you're a big hockey bettor. You had 4 games last night. Carolina seems to have the goods to handle New Jersey. They were down 1-0 to come back. Toronto, you're hoping, if you're a Maple Leaf fan, for some serendipity to strike them, because they've been a disappointment since what? Since like the 1960s or something. When was their last Stanley Cup championship? I think it might have been, what, 60 something? That's crazy. But they get a dramatic overtime goal last night to win their game. And you had the Cats. I surprised me by the way they handled Tampa Bay. Minnesota bounces back against Las Vegas. Any thoughts on the results from last night before we get into tonight's games?
Well, one of my favorite bets, they ended up getting a little scary, was Toronto yesterday, and I like them in that series. They're up 2-0. Looks like they'll finally get out of the first round. That's a big deal to see how far they'll advance. I was surprised to see Vegas get handled like they did at home. They looked good in game one, and give up one to the Wild in game two. That was interesting to me. Like you said, the Panthers and whatnot looked like they're on a fast track. The game that intrigues me today is that Stars Avalanche game. I mean, that's going to be a great hockey game. I'm seeing the Avalanche all the way up to minus 185, which would intrigue me to lay a little bit of juice and take the Stars plus 1.5 in that game. Just thinking that could potentially be another dogfight like it was in game two. That Kings Oilers game, that's another good game. Can the Oilers steal one in Los Angeles? That's one to look out for as well. I'm seeing LA at minus 135. I think the Oilers could snip them tonight.
All right, a nice little overview there. But were you involved in that game that everything changed with a tenth of a second to go with the Vegas Golden Knights and Minnesota in game number one? And they get a goal with like a tenth of a second. There was they had to go to the Zapruder film to see if it was actually accomplished in regulation. And with that, you had Vegas cover the plus 1.5 or the minus 1.5, and then on top of that, I think the game went over. I think it was 5 and a hook.
Did not have that one, but no, that
You talk about
I
the
saw.
agony of defeat. My God.
Oh goodness, no, I did not have that one, so I didn't pay too close attention to it. But hockey is just crazy. The amount of stuff you see at these end of these games with empty nets and all
Yeah.
sorts of stuff. I mean, your bet's truly never over in these games. It's just mind blowing, really is.
Yeah, and then they score an empty netter, so they leave the goalie out again at certain spots. No, it was great. Great action all the way through. Are you zeroing in on any baseball these days? I mean, we can't ignore an entire sport, can we, Troy West?
No, as a matter of fact, though, today, you got some great matchups again. I'm liking the Boston Red Sox again tonight. You got them at minus 120 yesterday. I didn't think that line looked good at all. for the Mariners. Tonight, you got Sean Newcomb going against Emerson Hancock. Hancock's the sixth starter for the Mariners. You're only laying minus 135 tonight again. Give me the Red Sox. That looks really, really juicy. And then I like the under. The under, I think you're getting 7.5 with your Miami Marlins. Mr. Sandy on the bump tonight against Brad Singer. Give me the under in that game between the Marlins and the Reds.
Marlins, you would have to say. I mean, it's certainly stunning to us. They are the surprise team so far, I think, of Major League Baseball. I know, other teams have better records, but for this, I thought they would be lucky to play 300 baseball for the season. And they're in there a game under 500, having won three in a row. They have a guy that came up on Monday. He's 5 for 6 already in his young major league career, and their pitching isn't as horrendous as you thought it might be. So, I mean, they were trying to predicate what they were doing on having young pitching, but it never seemed to work out for them. Every time they had some stud pitcher, they actually, I think they had to put on staff Dr. James Andrews, the guy that does the Tommy John surgeries, or he used to, because everybody was getting hurt, including Alcantara, who you mentioned. But 11 and 12, I don't know that anybody saw that. You must be getting some pretty good prices on that team.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it will be interesting to see if they can sustain it. But Max Meyer has been a great story. He's looked outstanding. Obviously, Sandy is pitching okay, and their pitching staff's just not bad, and the lineup's got some good young bats in it. So, can they sustain it throughout the year? I mean, if guys like Myers is going 6 innings, striking out 14, you're going to be in a lot of ball games. So, it's fun to watch. I hope they can continue it.
And it's funny. We've gotten so sour about this team here and the way the franchise has been operated that you're almost rooting for them to fail. It's crazy. It's like rooting
That's
for
how it
your
is with
own
the
kid to get
Mariners. Yeah.
kicked out of school. It's really not a good position to find yourself in. All right. Do you do any analysis, Troy West, with your crew on draft wagering? What is your thought about wagering on the NFL draft? How much wagering is done? Is it something that you would recommend people get involved in? Certainly, it makes you feel better if you nail a pick at a long price. But how involved do you get in draft wagering, if at all?
Not at all. But it is one of my favorite nights of the year. I love sitting
Okay.
back and just enjoying it. But no wagers on this. I don't know if people are taking long shots or where the first tight end will go and all that kind of stuff. But not for us. But definitely really enjoyed the draft and looking forward to tomorrow to see where the my Dallas Cowboys at number 12. It feels like kind of feels like it's one of those picks that could change the whole franchise if they get it right.
Yet people are saying that it's not all that exciting. I don't know the talent that's available there because I know that if you look at the most debated stories, Cam Ward from University of Miami appears to be a certainty to be drafted by the Titans or whomever takes that spot. But Tennessee, with Will Levis at quarterback, would be, totally neglectful if they didn't at least take a shot with this kid who has a big arm. Is there anybody that you look at? You're a big college football guy. I mean, is there somebody that can be the salvation of a franchise who isn't among the common names being mentioned?
The one, I mean, it will be interesting to see. I'm a Jackson Dart fan. I really am. I know he has some rough games at Ole Miss and reading defenses and all that, but I think he's the kind of guy that if you get even late first, early second, put him behind a veteran for a year or two, I think that's going to be interesting. I think what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do late in the draft is going to be interesting because they need to strike gold. And I mean, unless they're putting all their marbles in Aaron Rodgers, I mean, how do you have a guy like Mason Rudolph or Shaq Thompson running that team? I don't see it. So I'm going to be curious to see if they potentially trade up, maybe try to grab a Shadir Sanders, or are they just completely banking on Aaron Rodgers? That's to me is very interesting. I'm intrigued by the two receivers, Golden and McMillan. I think both those guys can turn around a franchise in a hurry. Ty Warren's another tight end. Loveland's a great tight end. Both those guys can turn around a franchise in a hurry as well.
Yeah, I'm always interested in where whatever mock draft I happen to have in front of me, where it goes off the rails, where it gets fucked up, and so we're thinking: does Cleveland? Did they actually become the derelict organization that they usually are? And would you say that this was the case if they passed on Travis Hunter at number two?
I don't think they will. I think that that's what they're going to end up doing. It'd be interesting. You're starting to get a little bit of buzz. You never know if it's real, but teams on the outside that would potentially trade up. But I have a hard time thinking a team like Cleveland's going to pass on a once in a lifetime type player. People comparing him to Shohei Ohtani, for God's sake. So I can't imagine they're going to pass up on him.
All right, we'll see what happens. There's always a blunder made somewhere. I covered a lot of drafts involving the Miami Dolphins because I was always on one of the flagship stations that carried them. And we had to do these just terminal 4 or 5 hour draft shows. And a couple of stand out, but I'll never forget the stunned disbelief. This was going all the way back to 1982 when Don Shula, and this was before you had all this instant information and the draft wasn't quite as celebrated as it is now. It wasn't a big television event. So they come back, they tell the reporters that pool that was there that they had taken Mark Duper out of Northwestern State. And everybody was like, what the fuck happened to the old man? He's lost his mind. This was a second-round pick. Everybody was panning this thing. And then, of course, Duper went on to be one of the great assets in probably one of the most entertaining high-wire offenses that we ever saw with Clayton and Dan Marino, who also was an interesting draft day story as evidenced by that. Did you see that 30 for 30 on ESPN about the 83 draft? Where Marvin Demoff, the agent for both John Elway and Marino, is describing, what took place that day. And Marino was dropping like a rock. It was incredible. The other thing I love about draft day is the stunned look of disbelief on Jet fans when they make their selection.
Oh, yeah.
As, they took Ken O'Brien that year, and nobody had ever heard of the guy. And, there's Marino goes, 13 picks later or something like that. All right. Are you still on fire, Troy West? Because you were really piling up the victories last couple of days, last couple of weeks. So where do people find Troy West and all the information you put out there?
Yeah, get to the website, troywins.com, or get to our Instagram. It's Troy West. If you come to us and shoot us a comment 7 or shoot us a message and just say 7, we're going to give you 7 days free of service. We've been hot with our bigger plays. We've been around 500 for the last couple of days, but our bigger plays have come to fruition. Had a really nice win last night with the Chicago Cubs. I don't know if you saw that come back, but that was one for the ages. It looked like they were done, then they came back. That was a great game, 11-10 victory over the Dodgers. They've got the Dodgers number right now, so they get 2 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th to tie it, and then win it in extra innings. So come take a look. We'll cover everything. We cover golf. We'll like you said, we'll be in touch with the draft tomorrow, NBA playoffs, NHL. Truly believe we're a one-stop shop in this industry.
You're an amazing man, Troy West. And you look good for early in the morning out there, Seattle time. So thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and good luck with the plays tonight.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Troy West, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of Bury Your Bookie. We'll have our good friend Mike Jones joining us here on the show. He's all in on all of this stuff, so he's going to be crazy and probably has a few opinions on the draft as well. Not sure what level of degeneracy. How much wagering is involved in the NFL draft? You would think the way things go today, where people are betting on Korean ping pong, that the draft would be a pretty good source for degenerate activity. But we'll see. We'll have some analysis on that for you tomorrow. And then, of course, the professor joins us on Friday. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Our thanks to Troy West for joining us. Hope you guys make some money today. For the people at NoFilter.net and all of our fine affiliates, I'm Jeff DeForrest, and we'll see you tomorrow, the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.